particularly, but with fountain pens, let's see, since college. Yeah. Now, I had like the little shavers, but I really became a fountain pen person. No. Yes. And some have, like this one has a cartridge, my favorite.
Okay, it's 5 o'clock, time to start our study session. Summer, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Patterson?
Here.
Commissioner Norwood?
Present.
Commissioner Siragusa?
Here.
Commissioner Roberts?
Here.
Commissioner Stallings?
Here.
Commissioner Orr is not here, and Mayor Mason.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Item number 2, at the Commissioner's request, discuss any item of concern on the regular session agenda. No? No? Giving Commissioner Patterson an extra minute down there. She has some.
Shuffling through my papers.
Yeah. Item 3.1, discuss the Strong Dad Program.
Yes, we have a special guest here tonight, Robert Bodick, who works here in town. He's also a commissioner in Ponca City. You live in Ponca City.
That's correct.
So he understands the business that you guys are doing up here. And Commissioner Patterson had seen him, I think, at OML and mentioned might be good to have you come in and talk to us for about 15 minutes. It sounds like a great program, and with your connection with city government, it'd be great. Thank you for coming up here.
Well, thank you. Mr. Mayor, fellow commissioners, city staff, I just want to say thank you for affording me the time to come share our program. I'm sure maybe some of you have seen our articles in the paper and a few other things. Hopefully, maybe you've even heard from some people that may have graduated to class. The Strong Dads program is part of the Governor's Fathers Forward program. Recently, they, at a conference down in the city, as part of that with Work Ready, they have committed to 10 years of family-oriented programming in the state of Oklahoma. So right now we're on a 3-year contract, so it looks like we're going to be continuing on. We've been making some really good strides with this program. So far, we've started 120 dads in just a year, and we've graduated 77% of those. What does that mean for you and for them? We have a belief that strong dads create strong families create strong communities. And that is one of the biggest reasons we're here, is to bring fathers closer to the family, bring fathers into better co-parenting with the mothers, and just reconnect with their families. Since the 70s, programming has been geared towards mothers mainly. They've incentivized moms to be single parents, and they're trying to stop that track. Our program is based off of 5 tenets. We use the 24/7 Dads program that comes from the National Fatherhood Initiative. It's been around since 1994. So we start out, we have them define what it means to be a man, define what it means to be a father. What are our roles? What have we relinquished in our roles as a father? What have we relinquished in our roles in general in the community and other places? Then we teach them about self-awareness. Why should I be a good role model for my child? Why should I go to the doctor, have health checkups, eat right, exercise, things like that? Then we teach them that there's a difference between being a father and being a dad. Being a father is disciplinarian, so we teach them disciplinary tactics, just things that they can use in the home. We teach them relationship building skills, how to communicate. Why should they be involved in their kids' schools? Why should they be up in there talking to their teachers, going to their parent-teacher conferences, knowing who their friends are, knowing what they're watching online and stuff like that. And then we teach them into relationship skills. How do they communicate? How do we communicate with the co-parent? Then it also talks about the work-life balance. The work-life balance is what do I get from work that I don't get from home? What do I get from home that I don't get from work? How do we bring those together? And so when I come home, I'm present and I'm not worried about things at work. Because we believe that a father that has a strong family in the house is going to be a strong employee in his work center. Why is this important for you all to know that we're out here doing this? One, it has economic impacts in your community. Right now, we're investing $300,000 a year into this community. That goes through salaries, it goes through, we buy gas cards for them every week. They get a $10 gas coupon. We buy $25 Walmart cards for them. Every survey they do, each participant can earn up to $220 taking this class. Plus, we're also out there, we're buying food. We feed them a meal every night, so we're out there. We're investing in the community as much as we're investing into this program. The other economic impact it has is more and more Fortune 500 companies are starting up workplace family readiness centers to where they're bringing people in and they're having their employees go through it because they've recognized the importance of having a strong employee, and it starts in their home. We're getting ready to graduate our next class. We're recruiting. What we would ask from you all is if you see somebody out there and you hear it, if you're an employer, encourage your employees to get involved. If you're involved with a civic organization, encourage them to reach out to us and schedule time with us to get them in there. Does anybody have any questions?
What phone number would they contact you at?
Actually, hold on. Let me. Got to hand these to Scott. They can call us at the extension. They can call us at the OSU Extension office, or they can go online. There's information on there where they can contact us online through there too.
Rob,
many-
go ahead.
How many classes have you had in Enid?
So I'm in my 5th class here in Enid, and my co-partner, who is the bilingual, we teach it in Spanish too, is on his 4th class.
And how many people per class?
We average between 12 to 15 people per class. We set it up to where we have 6 going at a time in 2 different groups.
Okay.
So it's all discussion based. It's not, someone sitting there, dictating or anything like that. It's very, very good programming that they have.
What's the typical length of your session?
The session, so we meet once a week for 2 hours, and it's 12 weeks.
12 weeks.
12 week long. Yeah, and then something I made is they set goals. We have a goal list. They set daily goals, they set weekly goals, they set monthly goals, and then they set one long-term goal that they do. I'll tell you one of the most impressive things that I've seen, some of the success stories. I've had 3 dads get full custody of their kids. We've had a few people that were referred to us through DHS, and they got their kids back. I've had moms come up and tell me that we saved their marriage. We've had kids come up and say, thanks for helping my dad. Matter of fact, we were at the Work Ready job fair today, and one of the kids that was part of our youth build came up and was talking to my co-partner, and we told him, hey, my stepdad's in your class, and we see a lot of good changes in him. So we've had a lot of great success, but one of the best success stories I think I've seen is these men are hungry. They're hungry for relationships. They're hungry for friendship, and they're hungry to be a part of something bigger. So you're probably going to see Strong Dads T-shirts out in the community doing work, getting involved. They formed an alumni group where they continue meeting. So this is definitely a good positive change, and it's been a privilege and honor to be able to come here and serve in this community again. When I retired in the Air Force, I moved here in 2008. So Enid has some really good ties for me, and I love Enid, but we're doing a lot of good things. Does anybody else have any other questions?
What's been one of the biggest challenges, hurdles that they had to overcome?
We were building the plane as we were flying it. And so that was probably the greatest hurdle was starting the recruitment. But once I got that initial class recruited, once they graduated, they were the ones out doing all the recruiting. I do very little recruiting right now. It's mainly the dads that have graduated that program, seeing the change in themselves, coming back and doing a lot of the recruiting.
Would you recommend this class also for soon-to-be dads or dads that have not had children yet, or?
Yes, I would recommend it for anyone that is in some type of a role model position as a male. So uncles, grandfathers, we've had them as young as 18, as old as in their 70s taking this class. Some of them were trying to reconnect with their kids. There's a few that were transitioning out of prison. They were in the Hope House, and so we connected with some of those and reestablished lines of communication with their kids. But yeah, I would definitely recommend soon-to-be parents to take the class. It might save them some heartache.
Yeah, they don't give a manual with that.
No, they don't. They don't. Yeah.
Mr. Gilbert, did you forget your question?
No, I was just politely letting
Yeah.
you guys go. I think it's great what you do. You work at the Extension Center, and this is the main thing you do, or one of the things you do, or
That's it. That's all we do.
how did you end up doing that here and living in Ponca City and getting yourself on the commission up there?
That's a good question. The commission part was pretty. It wasn't easy, but it was a good choice. I believe that giving back to my community and serving and bigger things than me, and being part of commission, I know most all y'all probably tell you that your eyes are opened to the world when you really get into the nitty-gritty of things, and helps you understand what makes your city drive. And but how I ended up back down here was I originally applied for the position in K County, because we're in 9 counties, and they had already filled that position. And so they came back and they said, well, we have an open position in Garfield County if you want to go there. And I was like, I know a lot of people in Garfield County. I'd love to go back down here and work. So Enid is a good town. So.
Well, I'm glad that you got us, Mr. Patterson, I'm glad you got us connected. You've worked here for a while, here in town.
Yeah, I was here for 5 years. Yeah, I went from 2008 is when I retired. I came here, I worked out Advance, worked in the security forces plans and programs for a while, and then I worked in the drug demand reduction program. So, yeah.
Okay.
Robert?
Well, thank you for coming in. Go ahead.
Just have one quick question. Do you know Mr. Darrell Lewis, this gentleman right here? I think it would be a benefit to both of you all to get to know each other.
Okay.
He has some expertise in the same field that you're in, and what you're doing
Yes.
for the community.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming over. We do appreciate that, and Godspeed on being on the commission.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheriff.
Item 3.2, discuss current and proposed shipping container building permit requirements. Scott G.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Shipping containers have kind of been on an upswing on what we're doing, using them, and so kind of wanted to an effort to be aware of trends and answer any questions and possibly get ahead of any potential issues. I wanted to present some items here that we've kind of covered so we're all understanding what's going on. So these are, making sure I'm right here. Yes. So currently, these are the current definitions, current regulations. Currently, Title 11 defines containers as what we would normally see. The shipping containers that come off the big old trains, all the mobile things that we've seen. They are allowed in everything except for residential, commercial office, and C1. Except for the I3 that is a use by review. I think we've kind of discussed that one in the past. I'll come back to that here in a little bit. But what you'll see is that currently shipping containers are allowed everywhere but residential. That's kind of where I want to leave that one. these are different types of uses that we can do. With a shipping container, you can make a house out of it. You can use it for a commercial kitchen or like a pop-up retail shop. We've seen these as somewhat of an incubator, holiday shopping. They set them for a month or whatever, temporary setting. We're not including construction offices or just normal shipping containers. They aren't here, but these are just a couple of visuals to help kind of get an idea. Permanent versus temporary, this is kind of an interesting one. The IBC 2018 gives us the consideration of 180 days. Once you go over 180 days, it is no longer temporary. It is actually permanent. And it goes in to talk about the requirements. If it is intended to be there longer than 180 days, these are the requirements that we need to follow. Construction offices, there's kind of a little bit of leeway because there is a specific end date. Once that construction is complete, it will be moved off-site. And then seasonal establishments are in our ordinances. This is coffee shops, hot chocolate shops, fruit vendors, even snow cone stands. Currently, a lot of things that need to be addressed when we're dealing in converting these shipping containers. The flooring is usually a porous wood type. You've got the metal exterior, but the flooring is that wood that's porous, which can cause health hazards if you're converting it to a kitchen. So that's got to be addressed if you are converting it to any other use than storage. Most containers are this type 5B construction. What 5B means is that the 5, they're rated 1, 2, 3, and 5 in the IBC. What the 5 is any materials that are in the code book. The B means it's unprotected fire-wise, which leads me to the next point. There has not been any conclusive study on the testing performed to determine the fire resistance rating for the container, walls, roof, and floor. So we're not really sure what the fire rating is. They're metal, but the protection is where we're concerned. Currently, engineered plans are required once we were 50% of the exterior cover, which I'll describe here in just a second a little bit more. Architecture plans are required for any commercial use, and what you're concerned on there is the egress and the safety of those being in that converted shipping container. The IBC 2018 that was adopted by the state of Oklahoma, the state of Oklahoma inserted into section 3114 this intermodal shipping containers. Basically gives us all the regulations on what needs to happen when you are converting a shipping container into another use, whether it be, it's more geared to commercial because it's in the building code. So if you're converting it to a kitchen, these are the requirements. This is where we need engineered plans. This is where we need architecture plans. This is one of the segments I pulled from it, and it gives us that guidance of if we remove this much of the exterior, then we need engineered plans. And it's obvious a 50% covering there to kind of see where we need to start going. Once you go over that 50%, it's like putting the sheathing on a house. You start losing the lateral load, and you've got to figure out a way to brace it. So this is a picture kind of explaining where we need engineered plans. This one right here, I look at it and I go, I'm not sure if that's 50%, more or less. That's where I would need to see the percentage of it and consult and figure out if it's under 50%. No, we don't need engineered. If it's over 50%, we'll need engineered to counteract for the structural integrity. This one here, you can obviously see they have removed 50% of the skin, and so they have replaced it with windows and all that. So we need to have engineered plans on that. This one, you look at it and go, that's probably 25% of the building. I don't need to be told this is structurally intact. So a couple proposed changes that I would like to the main reason here to kind of see where we're at. I'd like to talk about modifying the definitions Storage containers, pretty easy. We know what a storage container is. But then I want to add the layer of a modified container, where if you're not changing anything, you're storing it in anything but those R uses, R zoning, excuse me. But once you start modifying it, put a clear delineation between those two uses. Proposed zoning changes, like I said before, I-3 has the zoning as a use by review, which is one of our least restrictive zonings, where all the other ones don't require a use by review and they're permitted by right. That would be something I'd like to look at. The modified container, I believe that they should be allowed in the zonings, the C2, C3, everything but the residential, the commercial office, and C1. Kind of keep with what we're doing now. The proposed changes, so unless they have the kind of food vendor, which is the permanently mounted wheels is what our ordinance says now, a modified container would follow the Enid ordinance for commercial structures. So it'd be the same, if you were putting a modified container that is permanent, greater than 180 days, you'll have to follow the same as a new building going in, such as the site plans, which you'll look at the connection to the utilities, the off-street parking requirements, the driveway and vehicular circulations. And then, of course, the new buildings which come in, which would be the permanent foundation, the accessibility to the restrooms, and then the mechanical, electrical, plumbing code. And then we'd also have to follow the ADA requirements, which goes back to the requirement of a restroom in any new building going in. Sorry, I probably went faster than I expected. There any questions, any?
I do. On the bathrooms, what, you said that if it's a new structure, it has to have a bathroom?
Per the ADA, what it states is any new build is required to have an ADA bathroom. And we have reached out to ADA and got an interpretation on that, and that's where any new building has to have accessibility to an ADA restroom. So if you're putting in like a strip mall, you can have one central bathroom and it's got to be within, I can't remember if it's 300 or 500 feet of that, but they have to have that accessible distance. But if it's let's say raw land and you're putting this in there, then they would be required to have a bathroom.
Maybe I'm a little confused. So if we go get one of these and use it for storage of files and things at my office, you gonna
Okay.
tell me how to put a bathroom in it?
No, sir. We're just, I'm sorry, and I might have misspoke there. What I was more talking about, if you are converting one of these into a business.
Business, okay.
Yes.
That makes sense.
But as a storage unit, as a storage container, no. And that would be no changes. You're setting it and following the allowed uses and the allowed ordinance as is conveyed.
Yeah, the reason we're here tonight is because more and more we're seeing requests, not just here, but other places where people use storage containers for more than just storage containers. They turn them into retail establishments, and I don't know that we have an example of one. We may have had some people ask, but if we haven't, we will. They'll want to make a house out of this, and we'll have to figure out, what are the standards. So that's where I think, as we try to work through this and talk about this, we're trying to figure out what's reasonable to basically modernize the code to allow for this, at the same time maintaining whatever standards the IBC thinks. And Rob, we may reach out to you and ask you, what's Ponca City doing? Because they probably have the same issue.
Yeah, I know, well, you see a lot more of the restaurant aspect of it, but I know there's cities that are using these to build homes for like the homeless and veterans and stuff like that.
So tonight, we really want to get your feedback, whatever feedback you have. And what I suspect that we'll do is we'll work together some more on this and probably at some point get with legal and work on a draft of an ordinance
I guess I have
to
a
bring in
question.
to talk about again before we bring anything to ask for approval. Yes, go ahead.
Will this impact, let's say the coffee house that's off of Willow, because they don't have a restroom attached, and they're a permanent structure?
We actually, you want to tell about the coffee
So
house? I think it
that's
probably
kind of
does meet the
Probably what
standard.
started a lot of this too, and where I did understand the ADA bathroom. They should have one. It was in their plans to have one.
Okay.
So they should have one in their building.
Yeah, that was really at least the first one that comes to mind for me. And so we really work hard at City Hall to be business friendly and balance that with trying to maintain the standards that you want and the people want to live here in a society. So working through that, we did work through some issues, and I'm happy to say that the owners did comply. They were required to do an ADA bathroom, and I think they put it on a permanent foundation too.
Permanent
So it's a
foundation.
permanent structure, and we learned from that. I think probably what we learned is if we were to do it again, we'd do the exact same thing, except we'd have the drive come in somewhere else besides off of Garriott, because they were very popular in the beginning, and they may still be.
Yeah.
And so, but the problem is when other people come in and want to do something, we need some guidance that we can get codified that helps us be consistent. Because what happens to us is, what I imagine happens, in the Strong Dads program, the kid will say, well, you're letting him do this, you're letting him do this, and then we're kind of, and so we just need to figure out and get consistent. We've got at least one example I know of that we probably need to figure out and resolve. We may have more. And it's actually probably a new innovative thing. We just need to figure out what the standard is. So I appreciate all your research and probably more you're going to do in the ICC code, and probably reaching out to sister communities to see how they're dealing with stuff.
In the IBC code, when they have a restaurant and they put in a hood because they're going to cook, do they also have to have that sprinkled in there?
So it'll usually an Ansel system, right? It'll be sprinkled underneath the hood.
Underneath the hood.
That falls, so once you are modifying this and turning it into a permanent structure, you have to follow those codes also. So they would be required to have the sprinkle system, the head, the hood unit to get all that grease out, because you don't want a fire contained in one of these. You want all that grease out and everything.
What about the percentage of water runoff? Does it apply to this just like it does a normal house or structure or building? Or?
So again, we're talking modified, right? We're talking about this has been changed from a storage unit to a building. And so at that point, it would have to go through the site plan. So it would have to go through all the runoff and everything through engineering to look at that also.
It wouldn't necessarily go through site plan, would it? But it'd go through the building permit process.
Correct. The way it would look now is site plan is the only one we can do. Of course, in the other ones, we can do development plans. But yes, engineering does look at the runoff is the way to.
Yeah, and then we get into requirements too about having water, of course, with a bathroom, you're going to have water and sewer. And if you're operating a restaurant, we probably want you to have water and sewer, and probably a bathroom. So I know it's kind of tough sometimes as we try to figure this out, but I'm thinking, picture yourself in one of these things working for, 4 hours cooking hamburgers, and you got to go to the bathroom. If you don't have a bathroom in there, what do? Where do you wash your hands? I mean, so the code sometimes, I know the rules, we try to have less regulations always better, but this regulation's developed over time. So we don't have all the answers, but we're looking for them. So if you have any feedback now or in the future, I'm thinking we'll probably have at least another study session to talk about this with an ordinance. And at some point, we'll probably have an ordinance that we think might be ready for you to consider.
And we need to also keep in mind about the restaurant owners that spend $750,000 to have a building and do everything correct. And then if we let them put in a container, but they don't have to do anything, right? As far as code, that's really not fair either to the people that are investing large amounts of money. So, what's fair for one's got to be fair for everybody.
Exactly.
So, okay. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Scott, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it. 3.3, discuss the proposed solid waste rate increase.
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, just a few weeks ago, David Hunter gave you a presentation on solid waste increases and proposals. So we thought we'd bring this back again tonight and talk about and get a little feedback about how we would like to proceed with this. Just a quick recap. We changed the rate from $12.65 to $14 back in 2012. So it's been hanging out at the $14 rate now for 12 years. We gave you that proposal idea of raising it to $16 a month. And then we discussed, well, what about an automatic increase in rates? So that's what we're here to talk about tonight, what that could look like. Here is just a quick example, and the reason some of these percentages are here is 2 and 3% are already in our ordinance in a few different areas for automatic increases, and I went ahead and threw a 5% in there for us to look at that as well. So the proposal, as I see it going, if we adopt the $16 rate, we'll keep that for all of next year in 2025 and not change any of the rates until January of 2026. And this chart just shows, over time, over the next 6-7 years, what that rate could develop into. So you can see by 2031, at a 2% increase, we'd be around $18. And over at 5%, $21.44. So this is just an example for you to look at so that you can give us some feedback on what percentage automatic increase that you feel would be appropriate. And go ahead.
I personally think having automatic rate increases is bad. I think it's appropriate that we have one now based on the historical, but I just hate to see us lock ourselves in at this point for automatic. And we're doing it on water, I believe.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not sure that's a great idea, but we're all getting to play with that. So I just don't want to see us do it. That's my opinion.
Sure. And I went ahead and put one more slide on too. Maybe that will help with some of this. And I think the idea behind the automatic increase is, do we wait 12 more years before we ask for something again? And being that we think that moving from 14 to 16 is somewhat conservative, this is a reminder, this is a slide that you saw 2 weeks ago showing all of these different cities, and the majority of them are at or near $20 a month right now. I don't expect those communities in 2031 will maintain their rate either. The cost of business continues to go up for everyone, no matter what city you live in. These trash trucks, paying for labor, it all comes at an increased cost. So going back to that previous slide, at least in my mind, compared to the other cities, where we would land in 2031 is already what most communities are paying now. That's just a thought. So we're looking for any feedback on if you would like this or if there's a certain percentage that sounds good to you.
I'll chime in, and Commissioner, since it was me that proposed the automatic increase, couple reasons I suggested that. One, I think we're very poor at raising our fees as we need to. It feels like we get behind the 8 ball sometimes before we jump out there and do that. I personally, since it's on such a small amount, I want to be cautious about saying that because I do know there are people out there that $16 is a lot of money every week. So I am cautious about that, but I do think we are so far behind on where we need to be with that when you look at the other communities that I personally would like to see the 5%. But at the end of and I don't care if you want to do it at 5 years, 6 years, or 7 years, I think we ought to stop it right there and require that to come back to the commission to revisit it, restudy it. That might not be enough.
Well, I agree. If you're going to put a limit on it, that's different.
Yeah, which I would be in favor of that. I'm not opposed to just leaving it from now on. I think at some time, we're going to have to look at the water also. You know, we can't just continue to go up. At some point, 2% over a lot of years is a lot of money. But for right now, you know, I'd be willing to do the 5% and go out 5 or 6 years and then put an automatic stop on it. And whoever is in the seats at that time, they can restudy it and see what they need to do. Mr. Hunter?
Thanks, sir, and members of commission. We are in the process of putting out an RFP for essentially what's called a cost of service study for the solid waste program, which is going to allow us to not just look at our rates now, but our rates in the future, and also different scenarios of different ways to diversify and increase our revenue. So this proposal is actually a small part of a larger process of looking at the overall solid waste program. So this is one part, and this cost of service program, which is going to take a while, because we're going to look at a lot of different things and a lot of different scenarios that will give us a little bit more insight. But this is actually relatively low as far as what we're looking at across the entire state as far as rates and projections are concerned.
And David, I'll just jump in too and say that cost of rate study also, I believe, is going to take into account potential future plans and best practices. A best practice that we've thought about, a little bit about, is that where we house our solid waste department and where the trucks are and where it would make more sense. And so there could be some additional investment needed at some point in the future that study would take into account and help us with as well.
You know, it may make sense to go up maybe more than what we're talking about, the first notch. But I'll restate, I'm reluctant to take it out very far without us having to vote on it again, or some other council having to vote on it again.
Well, what I hear saying, a couple of you have said, is that something along this lines, I don't know what the percentage amount is, but that we go out 5 years or 7 years or whatever you tell us, and we cap it, if we say 2031 or 2030, and that rates would stay the same until we come back and have a conversation and update it again. That's fine with me. I just think it's a good idea.
No, what I was saying was that the escalation be on it each year up to the 2030, and then we revisit it. Is that what you were saying?
Yes, but not as eloquently as you said. Yes. We're fine. I'm fine with that. I think with our other utility rates, they do go up, and the question is, should we look at them some point? I would suggest that we get a little further down the line paying the bills on Call Lake first, but certainly we can. On this program, it would give us some discipline if it's for the 5 years to 2030 with some increases. We were respectful too, because we talked about a couple things, maybe $1, maybe $2. If you go back a slide, roughly you computed that with roughly 20,000 households and $1 or $2, that's how we get there. That ends up being a lot of money to the city, and I know that the $2 is a lot of money to residents every month. But what that equates to, when you think about what we do with that money, that would buy about 1.5 trash trucks.
There you go.
1.5 trash trucks, and we really need 5 or something like that to run. So as we go forward as a top 10 city, want to do big things and do them responsibly, we're going to need to think about our revenue, because the other thing is we only get revenue from, well, where do we get revenue from, Aaron?
Sales tax and utility fees, that's it.
Yeah. So unfortunately, we don't have electricity, we don't have anything else. I don't think we could sell enough hamburgers, and we're not going to be good enough. We wouldn't be good I wouldn't be a good hamburger maker. So anyway, we appreciate your feedback, and please, any more feedback, I don't want to cut off debate, sir.
Yeah, you answered the question, because I was gonna ask what, with that rate increase, what could that buy us as far as solid waste, and you answered a truck and a half. I was just doing some calculations in my head. Within that 6-year span from 25 to 31, that's about $74 additional a year per household. Maybe a little bit over and some change, $74 and some change. But to be able to take care of our fleet of trucks, I think that's a good deal. I think that's a really good deal. I mean, it just puts the burden on everyone. It's not on just one.
It's very fair to everyone.
Looking at the cities this size, yeah.
Well, I want to say we've been very good stewards. We haven't asked for a rate increase for 12 years, and the problem is we probably should have. So this helps us now and helps us with some discipline without getting out of control. In 5 years, the rates would be frozen, I think, or the rates would be frozen because the increases would stop until reauthorized or reapproved.
From a citizen's perspective, one of the big issues I heard about when campaigning was the polycart changed the rates that we charged for the polycarts, and the fact that if you had more than one, you had to pay extra for trash pickup. So I think the public perception right now is a little bit negative in that area. So in just my opinion, in today's world with the economic situation being what it is, I think the 5% increase is a little too much, especially for people on a fixed income. So I personally would like to see us go with one of the lower percentages.
I shared this just because we looked at it last week as well. The light blue is with one additional polycart. And so you can see across these communities, if you have two, we're currently about second lowest out of all of these cities.
Can you go ahead and point out Enid on the chart? We're to the
Enid
far
is
right.
third from the right. So our additional cart fee is actually quite less than the majority of our counterparts across Oklahoma.
But I would,
We hear
I would
what you're
agree
saying.
with what you're saying.
Yeah.
From my perspective, 5% generates some more revenue, but 2 or 3, to me, aligns with the other utility fees. And so really for us, that $2 increase we thought was pretty important, and we appreciate your leadership, Mayor, and talking to us about we should talk about this and consider this. So this will be your decision totally. But any more specific feedback will help us craft an ordinance closer to what you might approve.
Is there any chance of giving, like, in property taxes, seniors get a valuation freeze because they don't get increases in their salaries or their retirement benefits? So is there any chance of doing something like that where the seniors are capped at $16 a month?
We could always consider the rate structures. We'd have to really study that, because honestly, I don't know if we
It'd be
really
hard to
want to get into that,
identify,
because I'm
right?
sympathetic that everybody's on a fixed income. It's just depends on how big your fixed income is and what COLAs and stuff you get. But I think that is something that is certainly within the prerogative of the commission to consider, because it's a utility rate thing. I'm just talking offhand. I don't know how we'd have to give it some thought to see how we apply it, because then we'd have to know how old people are. So I guess when they provided ID, we could go off of their DOB or something. I don't know. Scott, what are your thoughts? You used to manage the department, didn't
You know, and I just want to remind us all, in case we've forgotten, one of the things that we do at no cost, if there are disabled people in Enid that are not able to pull their cart out to the street, we have a mechanism in place that they can apply for assistance, and we will, at no charge, the driver will get out of his truck, move their cart to the curb, empty it, and put it back at their house. So that is something that we are doing for some of the community that need it.
I actually witnessed that today, and I stopped and talked to Mr. Dale and asked him why he got out of his truck to go get this card. I said, I just thought he was being neighborly, that maybe he thought they forgot to put it out. And he told me about that program, so I think that's awesome that we do that.
Yeah.
I'm with you about the rate increase. If we did the 5%, I would, as a citizen, I wouldn't want them to think that we were punishing them because we hadn't done an increase for 12 years. So I think that if we went to the 5% or anywhere close to that, it would look like we were punishing the citizens because we hadn't done that. So I would be more in favor of the lower increase if we did one.
Everybody understands, though, that we have to have a balanced budget at the end of the year. So when we have to pull money out of one fund to go pay for a trash truck that we don't have money for, something else is going to get given up, just so you know. I mean, so one of those roads that everybody's complaining about, it will not get fixed because we've got this to do. So this, to me, just seems like a much more fair way to do it than to say we're not going to build a road because we've got to go do a trash truck. You know, part of our job also is not to see how lean we can make it, but to make sure that our fleet's up to date, that our fleet gets the best gas mileage possible, that when we get it out there, we're going through the best environmental steps, right? I mean, there are more things to that than just trying to run a 2% instead of a 3%. You know, so it's you can either appropriate the money or you can move it over at the end of the day. Just remember, because something's got to give. We can't just go print more money, right? Like the feds do. Not talking to you, Carla. So,
Well,
and
here's
part of our
something.
responsibility is to be good
Here's something we
stewards of
haven't-
that. And I do think that we were not a great steward by waiting 12 years to do this. You know, so we do have some catch up, whether, you know, we can all feel bad about it, but we have some catch up to do.
But
Which-
in my opinion, that $2 is the starting of the catch-up. Catching up.
It could be. And it
$2
is.
increase.
It is part of it. Yeah.
One of the things you could do as a high user of polycarts, you could do the increase with a percentage, and you could bump up the heavy users. I mean, my husband has like the boxes and stuff. And so you could, you could make it more expensive for the second cart, which would encourage people to, you know, triage their trash. I'm just saying that might be, you know, you don't do quite as big of an increase to begin with, but you bump the big users, you know, the people with all the stuff, which is me, they have to pay a little bit more for their second cart than they have been. Just a thought, you know, and then that might encourage people to, you know, break down their stuff and take it to recycling places.
So clarification on second carts on what we're thinking about here is no increases immediately for second carts. But whatever percentage rate starting in 2026, an additional cart's $5.50. So all of the rates in that subsection, including a second polycart, $5.50 would also go up. You know, if you chose 2% or 5%, you know, those rates would adjust accordingly.
Okay. Any other comments?
And isn't that laid out, Scott, on the bills that we get for our water and everything? Isn't it displayed and broken down for us?
On each of your water bills, yes, you'll see a charge for water, a charge for sewer, a charge for sewer improvement. I believe that trash is the next one on the line, and then your stormwater charge is at the end.
Anything else? Rob? No?
That's some good feedback. We'll work on a draft ordinance.
Thank you all for putting this together. It's very helpful. Thank you. 3.4, discuss the Ames Waterline Project. Morelli?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. This is another water infrastructure project. Got Ames Waterline. It is located in the western part of the city. This is the Enid, 412 on the north. And here is the Ames area and Drummond area. And right here, we have the Ames pump station. So from the Ames pump station, this is almost like 13 miles to the IMO booster station. And from IMO to 412, that is a bypass line that's been done a long time ago. So that is a 24-inch line that is a cross connection between an Ames line and also this line is coming from Clear Springs and Ringwood. So the line that comes from Ames to the town, that built in 1954-ish, and that is a 30-inch PCCP, pre-stressed concrete cylinder pipe. So this pipe has some age, and over the years there were some issues with the pipe locations and leaks and stuff like that. So that's been rectified currently, and the current major concerns are this pipe is exposed in two different locations, which is in near like Turkey Creek and there is a Spring Creek. So these two creeks, the pipe is exposed, and there is a current project under construction. They are going to start next week. We've opened the bids, and it's been awarded. The cost is $3.7 million. The construction, like 300 days to finish the project. The next portion of the project is slip lining. I mean, we looked several ways to rehabilitate this project. The best option currently is on table is slip lining this whole line. To do this project, the estimated cost is about $28 million, and we have $4 million currently funded. So we are still going to look at this options for the funding in the future. Got any questions I can answer?
What's the status? Is that line leaking, or are you just concerned about it potentially leaking?
It's a potential leaking. Like currently, it's not leaking anymore.
It's not currently leaking.
Right.
I do want to jump out there and say that that $4 million is a congressional appropriation. And so remind everybody, we're fortunate enough to get that through the efforts of our congressional delegation. Congressman Lucas, I think in particular, and Senator Inhofe when he was there. So we're also looking at the pooled finance program, I think is what it's called, through the state. We have an application in with them, and we're going to find out hopefully soon what they might be able to help us with on this project. And then we'll have to see what we have left, and we might have some ability to move some money over there that you can explain at some point, either now or on the item in the regular agenda meeting with some ARPA dollars. So I just want to tell you that as your team here is working on figuring out how to try to get all the funds together. So, and Morali's been helpful in that, as you've told them, they've already awarded about $4 million of the project.
And in this $4 million, we got $2 million from ARPA, from OWRB, so.
So we'll be looking at a phased approach.
Yes.
Will you be able to keep the line functioning while they're doing that repair?
The current repair, yes. And this is a parallel line, so we are going to put the parallel line completely done. Then there will be some
Okay. And then just
disturbance.
connect it over after it's complete? Okay.
Is there any deadline on when that money, that $4 million, has to be
I
used?
think it's at 2031.
Okay.
They've given us a little more time because it takes a while to crack the code on the agency that is guarding those funds. But I think Stephen's doing a wonderful job with
Yes.
HUD.
that liner that you're wanting to put in there, is that a rigid liner that
Yeah.
slides down through there?
That is correct. It's like a fusible PVC pipe. So at every 1,000 feet or every 2,000 feet, depend upon the locations and the straightness of the pipe. So they dig and they shove the pipe. So they have a couple mechanisms. They pull the pipe or they slide the pipe. So once they are done, they are going to grout the space between the existing pipe and the new pipe.
And then, will that affect the capacity of it?
Yes and no. Currently, we are sustainable production from the Ames and Drummond is only 7 million gallons. So this 24-inch line can produce almost like 15 to 20 million gallons. So we are completely
We're
good
not
with the-
restricting ourselves any at all?
No.
Okay.
Is the Ringwood field producing at all?
Yes, and they are not as they were designed and constructed. I mean, if you remember, I'm trying to question it, but when the project was built in 1980s, between Ringwood and Cleo Springs, they were designed to last only 30 years. So I think they designed right. I think right now the production went down almost like 1.5 million gallons for 30 wells in Ringwood. So they were producing almost 8 million gallons in 80s. Now, yep.
This is a little off subject, but we're still working that issue, right?
You talking about the salt water?
I'm talking about the fee increase.
Fee increase in those.
Yes, absolutely, we are. In fact, I think we're pretty close to scheduling a meeting.
Okay. What about Cleo wells?
Cleo is better than Ringwood, and I think it produces somewhere like 3 to 4 million gallons a day.
Okay.
Raleigh, I didn't understand you a while ago. Whenever you said that Ringwood, back in the 80s, produced 8 million gallons,
Yes, sir.
and what is it down to now?
1 million 2.
So that's just the capacity of the wells, they've silted in, or
Yeah.
something's happened, right?
Well,
Right.
and the aquifers and stuff.
Aquifer is down.
Yeah, the aquifer.
There are multiple factors.
We've just pulled the aquifer down.
Okay. So we would have to, if, worst case scenario, we'd have to put the depth of our wells deeper.
We have to relocate them different locations. Because over the years, the strata might be completely silted in, so we have to relocate those wells because the well field there is a fine sand, so the core sand will be completely clogged with the fine sand. So we have to relocate those wells. Current construction cost of each well somewhere $500,000 to $1 million, just the well and the apparatus. So 30 wells, we are looking about $30 million to relocate all those wells.
I'm glad we've got another water source coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, even though it rained a whole lot, it hadn't rained for about 2 months, and I think we were in extreme or exceptional drought, so.
Right.
So, all of you guys in Raleigh, we're the smart ones, right? In about a year, we're gonna have, actually less than a year now, right? We're gonna
Yep.
have Call Lake
September.
waters.
Other questions? Rob, you have anything else on Ames? Anybody? All right, 3.5, update on 66th Street Industrial Park. Thanks, Morale, appreciate it.
Mayor,
Jason?
Commissioners, thanks for having me tonight. Going to talk to you about 66th Street, another water sewer project that we're currently working on. Just to familiarize you guys back with this project is to provide water and sewer services out to the industrial parks, which are the new industrial park, which is located east of town out on 66 between, basically, big gap for you here, but between 54th and 78th Street, and then Willow down to US 412. The properties that are highlighted in the blue are the properties that the city has purchased over the last year and a half, I guess it's been. So the project that was put forth to the engineering department was to provide water and sewer services to these properties and to this area. So currently, right now, the project is broken into like four groups or 4 phases. Phase 1 of the sewer line, and then phase 1 of the water line, and 2 and 3 of the water line as well. Currently, the existing utilities located out in that area, this is Pioneer Elementary, right? Is that correct? Sorry, I'm Raleigh. Pioneer Elementary right there, and so we have water and sewer that makes it out to there. And then also we have water and sewer services that are out down in this area down here, this is Brookner's and Tyson, that area that's down there. And then a little bit of services that are in between here as well in that industrial park that's off of 54th. So I kind of highlighted the proposed locations of the water and sewer lines there in the blue and the green and the light blues. Phase 1, which is the phase that we start with of the water line, starts there at Pioneer and extends over to the industrial park that's over here off of 54th Street. But let's talk about the sewer line real quick first. The sewer line that we're looking at building is a 24-inch sanitary sewer line, and it will run basically down 66th Street, beginning up there on the north side at Willow, run down 66th, and then extend along the north side of US 412 over to 54th, where Tyson is and that area, and then extend down south to the 54th lift station, which is located at Market Street and 54th. Since we have this property here, and this was one of the best locations for us to extend a reach of that sewer line, this little arm or extension that we have over here, reaches our ability, or allows us to reach out into more property that's over there on that side of the property. Right now, our current estimated cost is about $7.5 million. The project is about 90% done. I say about 90% done. We are done with 90% plans. We had a plan review yesterday, actually, with that project, with the engineer. Our plan is to get those finalized and wrapped up in November and get those plans to DEQ, and then be looking to release that to bid in December. I do have a little bit of right-of-way acquisition that I've got left to do on some of the properties on the south side. Phase 1 of the water line, this portion of it, plans are complete. It's been approved through DEQ. We still have, we're waiting on to hear from BNSF on our railroad crossing, and then right-of-way acquisition is in progress on that one as well. The bids opened on Halloween last week. Came in a really good price. We were pretty excited with 2.8 for that project. And as I mentioned, we have a little bit remaining on right-of-way acquisition to complete.
What size water line is that you're talking about?
16? Yeah, 18-inch. Yeah.
Quick question I know we upgraded our lift plan at 54th and Market. Is it gonna be able to handle what we got coming or what we have proposed? I mean, are we restricting ourselves, or do we need to go a little bit more?
I think previously the pump station had three 24 horsepower pumps. With the increase, we got 300 horsepower pumps. So we got plenty of capacity, but it depends upon current industries. They discharge all the flows same time. So I'm not sure the future industries, they are going to discharge at the same time. So we need to work around. If that is the concern, we might need to look into future whenever there is a new industry comes into town. But if there is a constant flow capacity, we got plenty capacity there.
Okay.
So phase 1, okay, I mentioned that. Okay, phase 2 of the water line, is going to be kind of a little bit of extension off of Phase 1. It'll go from Chestnut and 66. This dark blue line is Phase 1. This light blue line is Phase 2. So it'll come off of Phase 1, come down to the south side of 412, and extend over here to the truck shop that's there. Our estimated cost for that project is $3 million. We got some ODOT permitting that's left to be done. The plans are done, and it's with DEQ right now for their review. I hope to have those out to bid 1st of January, 1st of the year, probably after the new year. Phase 3, so currently as the project is set up, we're getting over here on Phase 1. This is 54th Street, and this is Chestnut Avenue right now. So Phase 1 gets over to here. There is an existing 10-inch line that's right there. So this Phase 3 is going to be basically the extension of the 18-inch line from Phase 1 over to 54th Street, where there is an existing 20-inch pipe that's located along 54th over here. Estimated cost is about $1 million. The plans are approximately 60% complete. We'll get those out to DEQ in December, and then hopefully get that one out to bid as well in January of 2025. So one thing that Morale and I really pride ourselves on is we've taken a lot of projects and a lot of work in-house, and Morale and I are engineers, but we've got a great team of engineers behind us, and one of those team members that we have is Tam Nguyen. He is a project engineer at the city. He's been here for 3.5 years, 4 years? 3.5 years, and he has done all the design work, the modeling, and a lot of the permit work here for this project, for the waterline part of this project. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little choked up over it. Sorry, Tim. I'm a loving guy. But he's going to stand up here for the first time in front of y'all and talk about some of the details on the waterline. So, Tim?
So for this project is 66 Industrial Park waterline extension. So I have completed this in-house design. This project is spanned 3.5 miles. It includes like 3,000 feet of boring, and the rest of it will be the open trench at the depth of 4 feet. And this project will use 18-inch PVC to accommodate the current and the future demand. So this project will provide around 7 MGD per day. So the pressure will be about 60 to 80 PSI. And this construction will begin in January 2025 and will be complete in November 2025.
Thank you.
So overall, the project, our total estimate for the project, I think we have $16 million. So right now we're sitting at an estimated budget of $15.35 million. A large, kind of as I was mentioning, talking about having good team members like this, it really limits the cost and gets us more construction dollars for us to get more things done. So professional costs that I have listed there are for the sewer line and as well as some of the geotech and soil testing that we had completed. Non-construction costs, those are going to be the right-of-way acquisitions and things of that nature needed to complete it. And then there's the $14.35, that's going to be the construction cost that we've estimated. The current timeline as we sit, property acquisition, which I mean by that is the properties that the city bought, not the right-of-way. So that's the property. So that's been done. Concept plans complete, designs in progress, and I kind of gave you some of those dates. We basically have those wrapped up in December. Right-of-way acquisition is in progress, and that will be hopefully wrapped up before next year. And then construction is going to begin in 2025, and we look to have it completely done end of 2026 is the goal. So, with that, any questions? Let me know.
Where are we on funding? Is this completely funded in our budget?
Yes, we've got a grant for, I think it's $15.8 million through, it's running through Commerce. It was specifically appropriated from some fundings that the state government got from the federal government. So we appreciate that help. And so I know that we'll spend every penny of it. We won't leave a dime on the table. So, gosh, we're going to have a lot of new water lines and sewer lines out there. That sewer line, if you notice, the sewer line's a lot more expensive than the water line. And I think part of that, that's pretty deep, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about like 30 feet deep.
Whoa, 30 feet deep. So I'm very, very pleased with the team. Not only did we work with ERDA to get this grant, now we're executing it, so.
Just to add, TAM designed the whole, the Loan 5 and Loan 7, which is about $4 million water line projects, both of them. So it's about $8 million water lines. And also, he's the one designed the Ames water line project too. So we have a good team member.
Excellent.
Great job, Tam.
Well, I thought we were going to have more money left over until you started adding all those phases. I kept adding that up, and then
Yeah, as Mr. Gilbert implied, this is I don't want to say free money, but it's money that we need to spend, and so
Yes, sir.
we will do what we need to do to get it all
Okay.
put in place, get as much bang for our buck that we can.
Good, good. I know we've got to have that in by the end of '26, so I know you guys will make that happen, so.
It further builds on the investment of the industrial park, and so I know.
That's exactly
ERDA
right.
out there hustling every day to get people in.
It's one of the, what he's talking about is Dr. Mack always asks us, because when companies start looking at that land, do you have sewer and water there now? That's what they're interested in. So soon is what we keep telling them, right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Okay, one last item. Item 3.6, update on the landfill convenience center project.
Mayor, Commission, I guess this is another one with solid waste, but we won't be asking for anything from this. We're just reporting what we've completed. This is just the work on the convenience center that we've been working on since actually prior to the last fiscal year, planning from planning standpoint, and something at the end. So essentially, just for everybody's understanding, a convenience center has several purposes at a landfill. You don't want to have to drive onto the hill or to the cell. So for a lot of our residents who are driving up there in a car or a truck, the convenience center allows them to take whatever trash they have, that they're free dumps or otherwise, put it into a roll-off or a big receptacle, and then drive off without having to drive through mud, similar to what we had today with all the rain and mud and everything out there. We actually had to turn away some of our smaller vehicles because they would have definitely got stuck. It also helps us with recycling. If we have a location that we want to do recycling, we have a bin over there where you can drop off metals, plastics. We have a place for appliances, electronics, so we can put those over there. Additionally, if there are hazardous materials like oil or other fluids, we can have a location at the convenience center which allows us to keep people from sticking those things in a trash bag and putting on their hill and affecting our regulatory compliance overall. So just a little bit of geography. This is just our wastewater treatment plant, our landfill, just from an aerial view. And this is just zooming in at the convenience center. The scale house is right over here when you're driving in. The current convenience center is here, and also some bins over here, but the new convenience center is over here. And as I said, oil, appliances, tires can be dropped off at additional locations. So we've been working on it for about, I guess, the last 90, maybe a little bit more than 90 days, planning, meeting with the contractor. But they went out there, they put the forms in, poured everything. You can see over time they've been getting everything set. This is what it looks like today. Everything's been pulled out. Essentially, it's done. The only thing that we're really waiting on is the concrete has to cure for about 30 days, So once it cures fully, they're going to fill it back in, and everybody will be able to use those. The final thing I just want to point out, and this is something we've been working on since the severe storms of last year, so it's kind of poignant that we are putting it out now after we had some severe storms over the weekend. We have an emergency shelter out there, and one thing that we did as an investment is instead of putting a small shelter that would handle just our employees, we added a little bit of extra money on this shelter, and it is a community shelter that can handle about 20 to 23 people. So if for some reason there are residents or customers in that area and there's severe weather, we have a place for them to go and be safe. And also our employees, which in March when we had a severe storm, we had to make some decisions about where they were going to go. And one of the weird decisions was one of them was actually thinking of sitting inside of his piece of equipment because that was the safest place on site, because those big compactors won't move in the event of a storm, but that's not safe either. So that is there. It took a while for us to get there just because everybody was asking for it at that time. And I think it was just it's just a good thing to have, and the community shelters, the more that we have, the better for the residents.
Hey, it is a great deal, but I would say if we're in a tornado warning, please don't go to the landfill. It's not a good time.
But if you're already out there and a tornado warning happens, we have a place for you to go. Just bound that. Any questions? Thank you.
No, that looked good, thank you. That being said, I'm going to adjourn us, and then we will start back up our regular meeting at 6:30. We are adjourned.